Welcome to Project Management course. Today's topics: understanding of fundamentals of project management. The process groups, we'll tackle these today, and the project charter, also known as project mandate. First, have a look. This is an airplane, of course, and this is a specific one, which is an Airbus A380. 2006, this project was actually 2 years behind schedule already. And what then Airbus calculated was a loss of around 6.1 billion over the following 4 years. Really a huge problem for this project. And the project suffered actually from severe integration management problems. It was discovered there were pre-assembled bundles with hundreds of miles of cabin wiring, and they were delivered from a German factory to an assembly line in France. And there, workers discovered that these bundles, which are called harnesses, didn't fit properly into the plane. The problem then is, yes, these planes are also created in a kind of assembly line. But nevertheless, this assembly actually was kind of slowed down to a near standstill, because what they need to do is they try to pull out all the bundles apart and just rethread them through the fuselage. You can imagine this was actually a huge effort, and Airbus had to go back to the drawing board and completely redesign the whole wiring system. So they really had to do not only one but several steps back. So with a better integration management, this should kind of be prevented. And let's have a look on the process group. So which processes do we have in project management? We are actually talking about the process groups and the knowledge areas, and we are mainly focusing on the process of PMI, which is Project Management Institute, which is one of the biggest project management institutes. Actually, there are more. There's also Prince2, for example. So these two are actually two of the biggest players on the market. Mainly our processes will follow the PMI process actually, but we will try to also provide you with the terms and the naming, and maybe also some differences between PMI and Prince2, but only that you hear actually the names and the terms. Because you will see it later on, many things are pretty much the same. Some things just have another name, but they are following kind of the same rules for having these processes in place. So there's not a very huge difference if you use PMI or Prince2. Don't be overwhelmed by this picture right now. By the way, this picture is actually from PMI following PMBOK version 5. The current version is version 6. Yeah, the course will be updated soon. So, but we are talking about the version 5. Some things are changed in the version 6. Some namings are changed, and some knowledge areas are changed a bit. Some things were moved from here to there, so no huge problems if you follow right now PMBOK version 5. For example, time management is no longer called time management, it's called schedule management. There we just have kind of a naming difference. And there are some differences, but we will not go into the details because this is a basic project management course. As you just learned from the Airbus A380 example, for good project integration management is actually the key for project success. Yeah, so project managers have to coordinate all the other knowledge areas, so all things which need to do during the life cycle of a project. This must be coordinated, this must be planned, monitored, controlled, observed. This is a project manager's job, and you need also to have a plan for this, how to do this. Yeah? So you need to have the big picture in your mind, and you need to know what's going on. Project integration management is actually not the same thing as software integration, because here we are talking about we having a project lifecycle, things or work which has to be done in a project, during a project, needs really to be managed, so everything should fit into each other thing. Software integration is actually putting the components of software together, and here we want to put all the things from project management together so that it fits together. So formally, in here we want to have a look into the process of project management actually, and the project integration management process has multiple things, multiple steps. The first thing is, and this is where actually the project starts, is to develop a project charter, which is a document. The project charter holds the basic information of the project. It officially starts the project. It authorizes formally the project. It also provides the project manager with the power. So if this document is signed, the project manager has the power to start the project, has the power to put people on the project, spend money. Another point is, and this is a very important one, the project management plan. To this integration management process belongs the activity to create this project management plan. So here you have everything in there which is needed to plan your project. So all the plans which are describing how to manage your project, we call it these how-to plans. How are you going to manage your quality? What things are you going to do to assure the quality? Everything is in there, but also the schedule, your costs, everything is in the project management plan. Next point is directing and managing the project work. During your project, you have to direct and manage everything which is going on, all the activities during your project. Again, mentioned before, monitoring and controlling all the work. You need to know what is the current status. Yeah, you need to control that all activities, you need to see, you need to check what is the performance, how are we doing right now. So the activities to find out what is the current status, what is the performance. The other point is change control. Things change, projects change, and first of all, identify changing. So do we have a change? Is this really a change? Find out what are the consequences of the change and handle that. Because if you have a change in your project regarding the scope, so you have to do some more work, you found it out or something, the question is, what are the consequences? You need to manage that, not just doing it and know what the consequences are. And in the end, of course, if you are done with all your work, you should close the project. And it's not just we stop right now, but there are some activities which you should or must do formally in your company or with the customer together to close, to say, okay, the project is now over. Think of handover of all the documents, all the deliverables. Think of lessons learned meetings in your team with the customer and so forth. So all the things which take place in the closing phase. So again, a look on the process groups. You see again here, these are the integration management processes. Develop the project charter, develop the project management plan, then direct and manage the project work, monitor and control the project work. And if you monitor, this is just about monitoring, so having a look what is happening. If something changes due to time, so it takes longer or it is shorter or we have more work to do, you have to handle it over here. And in the end, close the project. These are the process of integration management, which is kind of the umbrella, so to say, above all the activities you have to do during a project. And this is usually task of the project manager. Let's have a look at the general fundamentals. So what is important actually in projects? Imagine the Egypts when they built the pyramids. certainly they followed a process for planning that and for building the pyramids. Yes, maybe this is not written on paper. The process has not a nice picture written down somewhere. Maybe they had that and it was not discovered yet, or they put that in stone, the plan. We don't know, but we should also have a plan if we run a project. And this is around the processes like Prince2 or PMI. We stick a bit more to PMI. However, this is not actually the important point, but the main terms and phrases are actually from PMI, and we try to give you a hint in the direction of Prince2 what the naming is. So whatever you follow, really doesn't matter which project management process you follow. If you're following Prince2, PMI, or something else, there are some basic questions which your process actually should, and which these processes usually answer or support answering. And this is regarding the business situation. So what is the problem in the business? You need to understand that if you want to run a project. So why are we doing this project? If you are the project manager, know why you are doing this project. So not only you, yes, because you are the project manager, but what is actually the problem behind that? So why is your customer or your sponsor, why does he want to run this project? So you need to understand that. You need to know what to do. So you need to know the requirements. You need to understand that. Yeah, in the beginning, it's not so clear. Actually, there may be an idea, there may be a business case, but what to do? So you need to invest effort together with the customer to understand the requirements. These requirements should tackle the problem. Things you have to do should solve the problem. This is actually the difference in the sense of, are you really doing the correct things? That not only what the customer wants could probably not solve the problem, and also advise your customer then if you tackle this. You need to know what to do then, and what are the requirements, and then you need some kind of decision. What do we really want to do right now during this project? So what is our scope? So what do we want to have finished in the end? When are you happy with that? Yeah, so when do you know that you are finished? When is your customer, your sponsor happy with what you did? You need to know, how well did you do? Was it good? Not so good? We've seen it in the picture before, the comparison PMI and Prince2. You see on the PMI there is an initiating, you have a planning phase, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing. And of course, during a project, you can do and you will do several things over and over again, or several activities in these processes you have to redo. It's not said you cannot do a plan in the beginning and you're done. So things will change and you have to replan. Prince2 has different naming and a bit more points over here, but you will find most of the things also in Prince2, or some things which you have in Prince2 but not in PMI are actually included in the process in PMI. So there's really not a huge difference. As you can see, you have a planning over here. So the starting the project is over here. So you have closing. You have manage product delivery, manage stage boundaries. So there are a lot of things in here. Directing a project, so which is kind of executing, monitoring and controlling. You see controlling a stage. So many things in there. Where to start? We have an idea about the process we want to follow. Usually most of the companies have some process kind of in place. Bigger companies always have that kind of. Okay, and now you as a project manager, where to start? Again, you need to know the reasons. Why starting a project? So you need to know that. So where is it coming from? What is the problem? What is the idea behind that? So there are several topics. So there may be a market demand for that. Your company is in a specific market and the market is asking for that. There's a business need or a request from a customer. So it could be really a project coming from a customer. There can be some legal requirements regarding security. So security things you have to implement legally. Otherwise, you cannot go on with your day-to-day business, for example, with your company. And now, what do I have in my hand when I start this project, when it should be started? Often you have a business case, which is a document. This could be in place, coming from marketing, coming from technical department, really depends. It could look pretty different, but there is some document or business case document which describes what the idea is, what the vision is, and this can be some nice input for your project to start. Or you have a concept, really depends on what the company is calling that. Or you have idea papers, and so forth and so forth. So all this information you must have in the beginning. There must be something when you start the project. So starting the project, so initiating. What are you doing? So initiating is, according to the process, PMI, it's actually creating the project charter document. In Prince2, it's named project mandate. This document, this project charter, or in Prince2, project mandate, defines the project. So there's described what the main objectives are. And again, it formally authorizes the project. It is officially started. Then, if you have this document signed, the project is officially started and it's existing in your company. So what is in there? There's a brief scope of your project. So what are we going to do? Timing. Usually you have some idea about the timing given by the business case or market demand, so it must be in place in 1 year. And you have usually already a budget, so these three things are pretty often in there. But good idea to also consider quality, mentioning the quality in there. And if you already know some risks, for example, you're planning due to market demand, create a product which you want to bring to market, and you must be quick. What if you are not quick enough? There's a risk for your project actually that another competitor comes up earlier with the product you're going to create in the project. And you need to know some stakeholders of your project. So name the stakeholders already, which you right now know. Before you do this, the project should be selected. This project selection is usually not what you do as project manager. So should we run this project, yes or no? This is usually not your decision. This will be done up front. But be aware that this usually takes place in companies, in mid-size and bigger companies. And they have some techniques how they do that. They could be, just keep the naming in mind, net present value. So there's the estimated costs and benefits for the life of the project, and the products it produces are determined, and they're doing a net present value analysis. Or return of investment, so benefits minus costs divided by costs. And if this is higher, then it's of course better. So think of this simply as what you put in money. If you get more money back, if you create a specific product or a service, if you get more money back than you put in, then it's a good thing. This is mainly saying the return of investment. This is, of course, kind of an estimation from management. This is what they usually do to choose, are we going to do this or that project? Are we investing money? Or you can do a weighting scoring model. So you have some kind of criteria which you provide for projects. You have several options, several projects which you could run. You provide criteria, you weight these criteria, and just you have a list with numbers. With the highest number, you can say, okay, I run the project with the highest number due to this model. This happens before, and then you can start your project, and then the first step is create a project charter. Develop project charter, the first activity you as project manager should do due to the process, because this is a beginning. And again, if you have this in place, the project begins. PMI says if you do not have a project charter in place, you are not allowed to run a project. So people who are certified are kind of not allowed to run a project without this project charter. So this is, according to PMI, a mandatory document, and this must be signed, because there is briefly described what you should do, what are the objectives, and all things you know up right now. And if you sign this, at least the stakeholders, the key stakeholders, know about the project, they signed it, and you have something to refer to. Let's have a look at some examples. Here's an example taken from the book DNA Sequencing Instrument Completion Project. This is filled in. You see project title in over there, start date and end date, some milestones mentioning some kind of budget information. Yeah, so the costs, remember, some timing, and then who's the project manager, who will be in charge. So who will be the boss of this project, because he gets authorized. And important, the objectives. So in this case you have some success criteria. So when will we be happy with this? So some criteria, you can put it also in there. This differs actually from project charter to project charter, and you see some templates later on. And you see, if already known, the roles and responsibilities here. So stakeholders, so which are people which are kind of involved or who have an interest. If you know this already, yeah, put it in here. And of course, the signatures of all the people, of the most important stakeholders, so the key stakeholders. Project charter template, here's another example. You see most of the things again. Here's a PMI, downloaded from PMI project charter example. So you see again now it's actually mentioning scope, time, and cost. Quality is always also a good idea to put the quality in here. In this case, I would do it under other. Here you see the objectives, and if you know some due dates, it would be also nice. But again, this is what you know in the beginning, from the talk to the sponsor to the customer, and it authorizes your project. Additional things, again, you see the signatures. Do you have this information? Different things, a so-called project statement of work. This could be given, for example, probably if you have a project with an external customer, this could be some kind of tender documents. So this is possible, and usually this is then during this tender process, these documents are quite extensive, quite detailed. Yeah, but if you have something internally, an internal project, this could be a really small project, this kind of statement of work, if it is existing. But usually you have this when you run external projects. These are then the statement of work documents. So this is listed up, what is expected. Also the requirements could be pretty detailed already. And or business case document, we talked about that. So this is a good input for you for creating this project charter. You need to analyze all these documents if you have these, or other agreements. And what you of course can and should use is so-called enterprise environmental factors. So keep in mind, where are you running your project actually? So is this a governmental thing? Is it industry? Do you need to follow some standards? Are there some standards in place? What about the market? Probably you have to analyze that. And the so-called organizational process assets. And this is usually an important thing in companies. You pretty often have these things in place. So if you are a new project manager, ask for these things. What do you have for guidelines? What do you have for procedures or policies for running projects? Yeah, so which systems do you have? What are the controlling systems? Do you have some templates which I can use? For example, for this project charter and for all the other documents. Normally, bigger companies have these processes already in place with templates you must use. Quick overview of in the end, project charter, or also called project mandate document, means you should have signed this. Yeah, if you have this signed from the key stakeholders, the project officially starts. Do not create such document alone. You do not do this alone as project manager. It's simply not a good idea, and it's usually not possible to do this. Do this with your team. You have to communicate with the sponsor, maybe with the customer, because you need to get it signed later on. And if you do all the things alone and in the end you pop up with this document, you can be sure you have to rework this. So take the help from your core team, from the people in your company, from your boss. Think about what is wanted and what is really needed. Yeah, consider again the thing with what is the problem. Yeah, so why are we running this project? So all the things you want to do or you should do is they should provide or they should fix the problem. what the customer wants could differ. Be aware of that. And also could be a good idea to talk to the customer about that. Yeah, maybe the customer just forgot what he really needs. And this should be actually your job to consult him. Check the business case. If you have a business case, validate this business case. Check what should be done in your project. Really check that. Statement of work document. If you have that, you need to analyze it. There can be pretty detailed requirements in there. And usually in projects, PMI process says create the project charter as first activity for the project manager and the core team. But normally, think of project statement of work. There are already detailed requirements in there. First requirement analysis is pretty often done in the beginning already, which is in the process actually coming after that. But usually you do this kind of in parallel because you are just working on this document. So this makes kind of sense. Okay, we will provide you in the course also with some templates for your project that you can use this document in your student project. Please make use of that. Watch the videos again. Thank you for watching and listening, and hope to see you soon.